Good morning. Welcome to Freemotion Fridays with Kate Quinn of Fabricated Quilts. So I'm just going to wait a moment, so hopefully somebody will pop in. Today we're going to talk about frames, how to frame a design to give it a little more life and liveliness. Hi, welcome. If you can hear me okay, can you go ahead and send me a thumbs up? And if you can see everything just fine. Looks like we may want to just shift over slightly, shift our camera just a little bit so we can be a little more centered. There we go. Hi, Susan. You're my free motion girl. I know. I love your work. I see your stuff all the time. So let me show you what we've done so far and talk about where we're going to go next. Hi, Sandy. So when we started out, we started with this triangle. This one was D for direction, and you can see that these lines obviously go this way. And then we made a very intentional effort to make these spaces go a different direction to create a little visual interest. Hi, Nana. Okay, and then on this one, we just used a very simple loop, and we varied the loop by its height, and we put this echo in, and we split it to give a little bit of a accent here to the triangle. So we made these little spaces a little taller as we went up, and then you can see just by elongating this, we really changed this design here. And then last week we did feathers, and that was A for accentuate. So we accentuated the triangle by making more triangles, and then we used the length of these feathers that we could stretch up into the peak of the triangle to really accentuate the triangle and emphasize the shapes of this. So the next one that we're going to talk about is called frames, and our mnemonic is DRAFTS. And then here you can see that we have a little bit of a frame, but notice our frame doesn't go all the way around, and that's an option. It's totally your call. You can put it all the way around or just on a few sides. One of the benefits of the frame, and the thing that I like the best about it, is it separates our designs. So if we had this triangle and then we put this line right here, and we butted our next design right up to this line right here, this line, then the feathers wouldn't stand apart. They would bleed into whatever is happening over here. Same on this. So I really like the concept of putting in some separation of the design. And certain designers, good examples of this are Kathleen Quilts. I like her work. She does a lot of separation of design spaces. Kimberly Einmo does a lot of that, and Green Fairy Quilts. Now, I'm not at their league. You know, I'm a good quilter. Those people are certainly people that I aspire to see their work, and it's very encouraging and helpful to kind of see how they frame things. But if you want to see some of bigger samples or more elaborate quilts that have this style, then they would be people that you might want to go and look at some of their work, like on Pinterest. So let me show you some ideas on paper. Okay, I'm a big fan of paper training, so let's start with this one right here. So I can't fit it all in, but you'll get the idea. This frame crosses over, so it's not as easy to make this. This is something I would likely do with a ruler. If I had the triangle, you would have to start on the outside, and you would go all the way down to your very end, and you would have to travel and come up this ½ inch distance, and then you'd line up your ruler, and you'd go all the way to the outside and travel around and put this next one in. This is great because it prevents you from having to turn the corner. You don't have to think about what do I have to do in this weird little triangle space that's really hard to turn. So this can be really super valuable. And then you can even just leave that blank. That could just be your little puff, and you just put a fill in here and then do something in here. Or you can leave all of this blank. Either way, it's your call. This one is the more traditional frame right here, where you're just going to echo inside that. And this would be something that wouldn't touch the outside edges, but you would be able to make this triangle continuous inside of the space. Now, those are very common, very regular, and I want to show you some ideas for things that you might want to try that are not. So this one, I'm going to call this the unequal wave, and I'm going to turn it a little bit here so you can see more. Let's see if we can get our camera out just a little bit so you can see better. Now, one of the things I like about this unequal wave is it's okay if it's messy. If it's wonky, it'll still work out. So the key to this one is if you knew how much you wanted to dip up, you could put like a little reference dot. Like if you wanted to travel up a ½ inch or whatever, you could make a visual mark. What we're going to do is essentially do a strong wave and grade it to this corner. The key is make the wave big here. So you're going to, if this is your angle, you want to make this angle quickly and then grade this into the corner like that. And the reason you need to dip this one up is when this one comes, the dip right here is nothing. You can see as it grades in. So when I get to this one, now if I dip up really strongly and then I come in, same thing here, dip up and then grade it in. And that changes the shape quickly and it uses a lot of motion. So the triangle is very static, it's angular, it's very regular. Now all of a sudden we have this super high energy movement with this shape. And then this one would echo really easily too. If you wanted to, you could easily echo that. And I like to put maybe some straight line movement in here. And if you can't do this part regular, make big, skinny, big, skinny. Do it irregular. You don't have to measure it or anything like that. Just do it eyeball. Or you can use the foot, the ruler foot would easily space this somewhat evenly for you. So then let's show you one other one. This one is the bracket. Okay. And you kind of want to think about the middle of your space. So I'm going to make a hump and a dip and I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the same coming out. So this really adds a lot of, I want to call this kind of like elegant, flowery style. And you kind of want to come in on this side. Don't cross over, right? Because otherwise you're going to be into the space of the other side. Whoa. It's hard to draw it on here, but you see where we're going? And with this one has very like Persian tile kind of look. And you could do it on two sides, and this could be the base, or you could do it on all sides, and then it creates an interior space for you to fill. So then I'm going to show you just one more thing, and I kind of like it on this space. So this is probably the one that will do the free motion fill. So pebbles are hard, but I love them. You can use a ruler, or you can just practice. And what you want is that figure 8. So you're going to go around and then this is the next one. And something I recommend if you're having trouble with spacing is like this. Make that one just go like this and then you can travel over and then the next one. And here we don't have to fill up the whole space. We can just do some pebbles in here and then we can travel and we can just do a few in here. So this way you don't have like a billion of them. You can just put a little fun accent. And here maybe you can just put like 2 of them. Like they just fell down and then they're just stuck there. And then you can just put a few more in here. And this creates a lot of energy, a lot of movement. We don't have to fill everything in. This is going to compress and then this will lift up, and having this doubled up will create a lot of interest. Okay, so yeah, this is all really good on paper, right? Let's get to fabric. We don't care how it looks on paper. We want to see how it sews. Alrighty, I've already checked my stitching. So I have 2 triangles on this space that we can work with. So I'm going to show you the bracket and I'll show you the uneven wave. And like I said, when you start this uneven wave, come out and grade it in. You got to go a little further. Think about it, right? And then this, you're traveling on that stitch line. So you can make this really deep, but you don't want to cut in to the other side, or you can make it really long and shallow. So I like the bohem pen because you can play with that. You can decide and kind of get a flavor for, is this long enough? Do I need a longer one? That type of thing. The hardest part about this design is getting back into that next corner. So let me turn us around so you can see what we're doing. All right, let's make sure we have a good visual here. There we go. All right, so remember here that we have to be looking ahead to this corner right here. We have to think ahead. I can't look right here in front of my foot. You got to look out and think ahead. So the key here is once you start with your curve, you do not stop until you are finished. Okay, don't stop in the middle. There is nothing that makes your curve look worse than I'm over here and I stop here and I have to think about where I'm going, because then you get kind of that weird flattening and that jog. So right here, we want to come up deep. And so most of our curve will be here. We only maybe want 1/3 or 1/4 for this little flattening. So here we go. Come up deep. And swing back right to the corner. So you can see they're not perfectly even. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Deep. And grade it back in. All right, let's see how we did. Right? So these are pretty deep. This would be great to put an echo on the inside. If this was taking up a lot of space and we want to create a little bit more space, you can easily travel. Again, I love my ruler foot. You're going to travel until this touches, and then just gently kind of follow this space. And grade it back to the corner. Okay. So I always have to turn it because otherwise you can't see what I'm doing. But one of the benefits of this would be I wouldn't have to turn this. I could leave this sandwich just this way, and then I can just sew that. All right, here we go, guys. Here's our corner. So again, you want to give yourself a little bit of room here to get that arc. And then I like to grade this corner back in, so he kind of matches on this side. And those are just design details. You can choose what you want to do. You don't have to do it my way. Okay, give your 1/4 inch right here. There's your foot space, maybe 2 more stitches. And grade that back in right there. Okay, so right now we talked about how you can fill this space, so we can just travel. The number one thing I will tell you when you are free motioning is you need to get good at traveling. So here's my story, right? If you're taking your kid and you're going to soccer practice and he goes for the first time, he's, a couple years old, and he does terrible. Do you take him home and say, okay, we're not doing that anymore? No. You're like, you're going to practice. You're going to get better. If you don't practice overstitching, you will not get good at it. When we started, I was awful. Okay? So remember what I said? If you can't make them even, make them uneven on purpose. Okay? So we're using the foot. We kind of have an even spacing. But if you feel like that's too hard, literally just make it uneven on purpose. Make two close together and then a far apart and then another close and then another close and then far apart. That irregularity creates its own rhythm and interest, and then people will follow that. They'll be like, oh, that's interesting. And you can always go back and put more in if you need to. If you feel like one space is too big or whatever, you can just put another one in. No big deal. So nice, easy rhythm. Listen to the sound of your machine. Okay. All right, there we go. And I would be able to travel around like that. That kind of opens this. And then when we put some fill in here, we can make this have that pebble energy. So this one has a little bit more openness here. And notice how this one doesn't. And I think I would want to try to create a little bit more openness here next time. I like this better on this side. I like how this looks. This one kind of creates a weird irregularity there. So I would think about next time when I'm coming in here, I want to grade this a little bit more sooner. And that will open up this space right here. This is actually a little long for what I wanted here to create an openness. So that's how we learn. We say, okay, visually, that doesn't look like how I wanted. So I can change that next time. And that's what you would do. Here you would want to grade this so that you cut in on your curve a little sooner, and that will open this up so you have more flatness. You could even mark where you want the flatness to begin. And then as you're grading in, you can say, oh, I better get over there. Okay. All right. So let's do our next one. This was one of the fills here. And the next one we're going to do is the bracket. And I love that one. It's so pretty. All right. So let's cut this and we'll scoot over to our other space. Cut some of these threads off of here. Ooh, we have a really long friend over there. Okay, here we go. Alrighty, so if you don't want your bracket to go too far, you can always put a little reference in there like this. And you can just use that as a guide. I wouldn't, try to like follow that exactly. That's not the goal, but sometimes I think it helps if we have some visual. So, and if this is your middle, you can mark that. And those can become little reference information for getting the design that you want. All right, remember what we said? You're going to curve out and in. So the shape is like this, and this is our split. So we've got to be careful about, crossing over that like that. So it's kind of an S with a little flattening. And then the hardest part of this design is mirroring it on the other side. So if you practice a little bit, that'll help you. So here's your middle. Make sure that as you come in, you're going to not cross over that line right there, because that's what's going to help you in order to have your design fit nicely. Come up to a point, actively change directions. Okay, so same here, we're going to kind of use those corners, make sure that we have a nice gentle, so even coming up here if I need to follow a little bit. Okay, keep you guys in view. How do you like that? Isn't that pretty? I love how it turns out. And I really like this one if you echo. I think it looks really good with an echo. So right there, sewing a little slower so I could grade into the corner nice like that. And we can echo on the inside or the outside, but look at what a fun shape that is. That keeps our triangle. It still emphasizes our triangle, but it changes everything. I love it. Okay. So here we are touching right here. So what we may want to do is kind of sneak up that seam. And if you want to echo from this point, this is what you can do. Just follow that along. Put a little echo there. You're going to dip right into that space so it connects right there. And then you'll grade out a little bit and then get your space. Dip in, kind of closes that a little bit, and then grade out. Okay, so there's our cute echo. Love that. Now, this is where we can start putting some of those fills in if we want to do circles. So we talked about it a little bit. I'll do a little bit here. Remember what I said about figure 8. You want to get that movement in there. Now, if you can't make them round, just start out not making them round. Make them oval. That way, if they're wonky, nobody will notice. You know, just go different directions. It's okay. This is a good way to practice getting that tracing over it. So you make them like coffee beans. I love coffee, right? But if you want to make them round, you can do that. So we'll come in here. We need to give ourselves a little space here to get into this area. Okay? So with pebbles, my special advice here is don't sew too slowly. Think about a dot to dot when you were a little kid. If you had dots that were far apart of your design and you tried to connect them, they'd be really choppy, right? But if you have lots of dots together and you connect them, then you're going to get a much more rounded look if you have more dots close together. So the key to having tiny pebbles and helping to make them rounder is you need more stitches in the same amount of space. So as you're doing your pebble, sew a little bit faster so you can get some more stitches in there. Okay, now right here, this is tight, right? We don't have a lot of room. Okay, so then let's just make a fudgy one. And then we'll go around and get ourselves some room for the next one. Definitely try to make them all different sizes. I think that's so much easier to make them different sizes than trying to make them all the same. You know, big one, little one. Let's put a crazy one in. We're going to make this one as a swirl. Okay, so we're still going to try to keep the same movement and the same shape. There's our figure 8. But instead, we'll swirl it in, right? And then as we go back out, that's how we're going to close the circle right here. There's your figure 8 into your next one. And here, we can close this. Going out here, putting a partial in there means that we could travel right there in order to get the next one. Okay, so that's just a few ideas for fills. You can see mine aren't perfect. To be honest, more quilting is better. So anything that has this idea that it needs to have perfection, if I have one line and it's not straight, I have just a weird line. But if I have this, and then I have this, I have a pattern. I have something. I have some more energy. So I'm going to look through really quick. It's hard for me to look through the feed while I'm talking and sewing. So let me go ahead and just see if we have any specific questions real quick. So, hi, Caroline. You're my Caribbean girl. Hi from Florida. Hi, Dolly. Hi, Susan Mitchell Henderson. Bonjour, Marie. Bon matin. Patsy, Barbara, Brenda Kerr, hello. Jackie, hi. This is a friend of mine from Washington is watching, and I haven't talked to her in a while. Hi. So, okay, so did you get inspired? Do you think you can try some of this? I want to see what you do. Send me a message or post it on my page or post it in this message. Just try it on a little space. Try something. This breaks up this triangle and helps us have a little bit of a different look to that space. So our Free Motion Friday is a little bit long today. It was 25 minutes. I try to keep it short and sweet, but a frame doesn't have to be something like a picture frame. You can make it uneven, unequal, curvy, spiky, stars, whatever you want. So go ahead and try framing some of your designs or some of your spaces and see how that helps change your free motion styling. All right, so on Sunday, I will see you guys for ruler work this is on the Sew Steady page. So on Sundays, I post on the Sew Steady page. On Fridays, I post on my own page, Fabricated Quilts. And I don't know what we're doing. I would love to tell you that, but I don't know yet. I'm still working on it. So on next Friday, we will be doing T for transitions, and we will talk about ideas for helping to improve your flow of designs and a practical exercise that you can use to help you get better at making a transition and thinking ahead about what's going to happen next. So T for transitions next week. I'll see you there. Have a great week. Happy quilting.